The latest coronavirus funding package now heads to President Donald Trump, who has said he'll sign it into law. The House on Thursday overwhelmingly passed an additional $484 billion in funding for a small business loan program, hospitals and testing, advancing the fourth installment of coronavirus relief to combat a growing public health crisis and remedy an economy in freefall. The interim funding package, which passed in 388-5, centered on replenishing the depleted Paycheck Protection Program with another $320 billion. The Small Business Loan Initiative was created as part of last month's $2 trillion rescue package to keep employees on payrolls and avert layoffs. But within a few weeks, the program ran out of the initial $350 billion appropriated. Republicans initially sought funding solely for the small business program with a request for $250 billion. But when they tried to unanimously pass it in early April, Democrats countered and pushed for increased funding for hospitals, testing, states and food assistance programs. After negotiations with the White House, the bill ultimately included $75 billion for hospitals and $25 billion for testing. Additionally, a portion of the new Paycheck Protection Program funds must focus on community banks and lenders and small businesses owned by minorities and women. For the first time in nearly a month, most members returned to Washington to vote on the interim package as well as a resolution to create a select committee to oversee the federal response to the outbreak, which passed along party lines. Each vote lasted over an hour in order to limit the number of members on the floor at one time and observe social distancing guidelines. Between the two votes, the House briefly recessed so the chamber could be clean. The legislation, which passed the Senate on Tuesday, easily cleared the two-thirds needed to advance in the House. Only 4 Republicans and 1 Democrat, Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez of New York, voted against it. The bill now heads to President Donald Trump's desk for his signature, which he has already said he'll sign into law. Much of the nearly 3 hours of debate was dominated by partisan squabbling, Republicans accusing Democrats of holding up much-needed small business aid for 16 days, Democrats alternatively placing the blame on their GOP counterparts for slowing down negotiations by initially blocking hospital and testing funds. Congress has now passed 4 pieces of virus-related legislation since March, totaling nearly $2.8 trillion in relief funding. Lawmakers are looking ahead to the next relief package, but are already clashing on the priorities and timeline. After the vote, the House adjourned and will remain in recess until at least May 4, but a number GOP lawmakers voiced frustrations about legislating from a distance and urged Congress to come back into session. Democrats and Republicans are in the early stages of reviewing possible remote voting options, including proxy voting for members who are unable to make it back to Washington due to the virus, but an agreement has yet to be reached.